Okay, so it's 11:34 a.m. Namaskar and good morning. My name is Mohit and I'm representing City Book Leaders, a knowledge exchange platform based upon books. And we do everything that enables a healthy transfer of knowledge from books. We believe that every book is like a magical rectangular brain changing super cool stuff that helps us cherish this universe in a very joyous way. We, with our community of readers, curious minds, and patrons of wisdom, and many at times we are called as introverts as well, I must say. We bring together some amazing curation of sessions based upon subjects that help us becoming better always. Keeping that cue, today's session is truly remarkable with Dr. Aditi Singhal and Shri Bala Kishoreji, who both need no much introduction, I must say. And they, along with Shri Sudhirji, have compiled their experiences and knowledge into some very useful and very interesting books related to mathematics and memory. What I have read is only one book of them. I knew about the other books as well. And today we have a discussion on their recent book, which is How to Improve Concentration. I'll share some of my personal experience from the last week when I started reading this book, and thanks to Penguin and Ranjini and other team members from Penguin who recommended this book to us to be hosted at City Book Leaders. My last week while reading this book has been highly productive, I must say. And you must notice the tone of highly, with some simple revelations that I could draw from the book, or I must say reflections, as Balaji will tell you in the end of the session what reflections are all about. So my four reflections that I can actually share from the book that actually helped me in the last week. That one WhatsApp break that you take in while doing anything eats up your hours of productivity, and number of hours Dr. Aditi
Yeah.
Singhal can mention it to you in our session. Second is the digital calories. Like we are very conscious about our calories of mujhe ye nahi khana, mujhe wo nahi khana. The kind of digital calories we consume just by seeing on the phone or screens is humongous. It's very degenerative, not only for us, but when you see around children
Yeah.
and the way they are consuming such content is disastrous. The third very, very important thing that I was not expecting this from this book, but is all about the questions and answers. And today, while we have someone as Rumaji to ask questions, I would encourage everyone else to ask questions because, as Dr. Aditi has also mentioned in her book, questions are the most intelligent things that you can ask, or what you can portray while you are trying to understand something. That's the third one, and the fourth is definitely the perils of multitasking. We were just discussing coming from financial banking background. It was always very much encouraged that you should do multitasking. You should do everything together. But I think that's the worst that can happen to us. And this book, which I thought it's not a very thick book. I would be able to finish in a day or two. But I actually delved upon it, took
Yeah.
my time, sat in peace after my meditation. I could actually go through the entire book, and that's what I've been thinking, that I'm going to gift this book to all my digitally overexposed friends, with the hope that it would bring a change in their lives during as a new year gift. That's what I'm going to do. The choice would be yours how you want to do it, and I've already placed the order for all other four books that are part of the series. And one is How to Be a Math Magician.
Yes.
Second is How to Memorize Anything. um, I will try to remember a few things for sure. And the third one is the Memory Handbook for Students. And the fourth one is Crack the Code, Maths
Yeah.
Mysteries for All Ages. And I look forward to reading all the other books. And I now invite Ms. Ruma Purkasthya, who's part of City Book Leaders, who will lead us today into the discussions with Dr. Aditi and Sri Balakishorji. I should introduce her to the entire audience, to all the people who have joined in from various parts of the world. She's the former principal of Navy Children's School, New Delhi, and she's a dedicated professional with over 3 decades of experience in the field of education. With psychology as her background and a love for children, she believes that the purpose of education is to encourage students to realize their potential understand and celebrate their uniqueness and build life skills towards the future. Nowadays, she is in the beautiful picturesque place of Nilgiris. And though in her background you can only see the parda, but you can actually ask her to tell us something more about where is she and how is she managing her concentration there. She firmly believes that we must become the change agents required by society today. I met and there's a list of accolades that Ms. Ruma has, and I met her through a very lovely book club, which is a JVCC book club, where all the young people gather together, and despite even if they are 75, they don't stop reading, and that's our lovely connection over books, knowledge, and the lovely experiences that we can share together. I now request Rumaji, I welcome her to take the discussions ahead and take us to this lovely, enlightening, beautiful Saturday morning. Thank you, Rumaji.
Thank you, Mohit. Thank you for all those lovely words. And it's good to be part of CBL. Well, as Mohit said, I think Aditi ji and Balaji actually don't need an introduction. Their work speaks for themselves and everybody knows them. However, I would still like to introduce them. Uh, Aditi ji is a maths educator, an international memory trainer, author and a motivational speaker, and I have had the privilege of listening to her about a year ago, a full day workshop where I didn't know how time flew by. She has to her credit 3 records in the Limca Book of Records for memory and the fastest calculation, and has been awarded the best memory trainer by them. As an expert on the television program Hum Honge Kamyab, she focused on providing value-based solutions to the problems that the youth face. Her mantra, interestingly, is add smart work to your hard work, which is really apt when we are going to discuss the book Improve Concentration by Aditi and Sudhir Singhal and Bala Kishore. Aditi and Sudhir Singhal are also founders of an educational organization called Dynamic Minds. Balaji, Mr. Bala Kishore, Vice President Transformation at Sears Technologies, is a British Chevening scholar, a certified executive coach, and a digital wellness expert. Balaji himself is an avid meditator for the past few decades, and he practices Raj Yoga as taught by the Brahmakumaris. He's tours over 16 countries to deliver talks on mind, meditation, management, and motivation. He has co-founded Spirituality in IT Wellness Retreats and the Spirit Wellness Conference. I think we're very, very fortunate to have such accomplished individuals with us today, and I'm sure we are going to have many, many takeaways from this session. Thank you for being here, and I welcome you to this morning. I'd like to begin with Aditi ji. And as Mohit read out the list of books that you've written, it's really very remarkable. And I would like to first begin by asking you, what is it that inspired you to write on these topics? Not everybody ventures into these areas.
Thank you so much, Rumaji. Thank you, Mr. Mohit. It's a privilege to talk about our books on this platform. I'm really happy to be here. So this journey of writing, it started around 10 years back when we came up with our first book on fast calculations. And I'm happy to say that this is our 6th book on concentration. So actually the inspiration for each one of these has been our passion to share what we learn. In our workshops, when we used to have workshops for students, teachers, parents also, for corporates also, there we found that the positive feedback that we got from them, even years after attending the workshops, they used to post us, they used to email us about the positive impact they are having in their life as general, not just in their studies, but also in their life. So that actually inspired us to share these techniques, because workshops have their own limitations. You cannot reach everywhere, but through books, you can reach across the world. You can reach the millions, and that's the biggest inspiration. And for this particular book, I would say for years we have been working on mathematics memory, but down the lane during this journey of developing more and more skills in memory and calculations and all these things, I realized that the importance of attention and concentration is the key to achieving success in your life, whether it be developing any skill, not just calculations and memory. So, and I really worked on myself, on my students, on different participants who attended, and by getting that positive feedback through various ways, I actually done study on it also, studied various researches, and that's how I was inspired to share, first of all, my own experiences, my own journey, how it changed by changing the attention, by choosing what I started paying attention to, and then all the techniques that I shared in the book.
Thank you. Thank you, Aditi. Let me begin by asking you, you referred to something called the concept of ekagrata in your book. As I understand, ekagrata in Sanskrit, it means concentration in Sanskrit.
Yes.
Uh, what is the secret to this?
See, ekagrita, if you break it up, this word, ek plus agra. Agra means pointing and ek means one, pointing towards one. So it is about giving prominence to one amongst many, one thought amongst many thoughts,
Okay.
one task amongst many tasks. And
Okay.
one example which comes to my mind when I talk about this particular word ekagrita is the example of Arjun, the great warrior of Mahabharata. We all know that he was best at archery and no one was like him. When his guru asked him to aim at the eye of the bird, he saw just one thing, the eye, not the sky, not the tree, and not even the bird. And that was the secret behind his success. And that's what I call as ekagrita. Just एक के प्रति point. So आपका पूरा focus, your whole focus and attention is towards one
One
thing.
thing.
And that is why the key principle of ekagrita is it's not just about aiming at one thing or focusing at one point. It's also about ignoring rest of the things which are not relevant or which are not required or
All right.
distracting you from your aim.
All right. While I was reading this book, I also took it up wondering what would be there inside, but it was a remarkable book. I liked two sentences particularly. You have said what we pay attention to and what we ignore shapes our moment by moment experience. And you also say that paying attention is giving away a slice of your life.
Yes.
I'd like you to throw some light on these sentences.
Very profound sentences, very deep meaning, and related to everyone, each one of us. When we talk about attention, why attention is so important, how it shapes our life, for that, I would like to do an activity with all of you. I would
Okay.
like to invite all our audience today, whether on Zoom or they are connected to Facebook, so to do this activity. Now, what you have to do wherever you are sitting in your place, just look around yourself. I would like Rumaji to do the same. Just look around your room and see what all white you can see in that room, white or cream. It may be the wall behind you. It may be the ceiling of the room. It may be something on the computer screen. Anything, whatever white you find in your room. Can you see? Okay. Now, yeah, you can unmute yourself because I can only interact with you.
Whatever wild you can see or whatever white?
White or cream in
White.
color.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. I've seen.
Okay. Right. Okay. Now again, you look around in the same room and see what all red you can see. You can observe. It may be the curtains behind you, as
Yes.
I can see. Uh, it may be something of
Yeah.
anything
Yes,
around
also.
the book cover or so. Have you
Yeah.
seen that?
Yeah. I've seen that.
Okay. Now you have to reflect. Not just Rumaji, I would invite all the audience there to reflect when you were seeing the white around you, the things in white around you. Were there no colors at that time?
Uh,
But
Dr.
because
Sorry,
Yeah.
Dr. Aditi. I was just mentioning that the chat is open. So, in case someone wants to send a message, they can send
Okay,
the message
we'll
on
have
the
a look
chat.
for that.
So,
Okay, okay,
please
okay.
see that as well.
So in fact, I would like to have something from the audience too, if they can write in the chat box what all white things they can see. Okay, Venki is saying already the activity actually you all have done with both the colors. Okay, let's come to the things. The colors were there, but we did not see. Okay, Venki is saying that the colors were there, but we only because our attention was there on
Looked
the white
only at the white, we ignored the others. We tried to ignore the
actually.
others.
And when I asked you, when you started looking for red, so
Yes.
there was white also and the other colors also.
Yeah,
But
but you focus on the red.
you focused on the red,
Red.
right?
Yeah.
And while focusing on the red, most important thing is you ignored rest of the colors.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not that
Yes.
you didn't see the white, but the moment white comes in front of you, you
You
just ignore that.
you're ignoring.
And that is our capability of choosing what to pay attention to and
Okay.
what to ignore. And your experience of the moment depends on what you choose to pay attention to. In,
Okay.
when you were looking
Beautiful.
for red, your experience was about red objects, right? Because you
Yes.
choose to ignore the white and
Yes.
the other colors. In the same way, in any situation, what we experience depends on what we choose to pay attention to. I just give you a simple example that let's say you have given an interview and you were very sure about getting through the interview because your preparation was very good, but somehow when you attempted, when you went there, all the questions that were asked were just out of
Yeah.
context and you failed, right? Now it depends how you experience or how you feel about the moment depends on what you choose to pay attention to. If
Yeah.
you choose to pay attention on the failure, I couldn't get through, that questions were not set properly, then you will end up blaming yourself, blaming other people. You will end up feeling low, depressed, disappointed. But on the other hand, if you pay attention to the learning part, yes, I can learn from this. I
Okay.
never knew that these kinds of questions can also be framed. So let me work on this particular set. I have not worked on this particular set of questions. And then you can take it as a learning experience and can start learning more about so that you can be more prepared for the next interview.
Yeah.
So you feel encouraged or you feel depressed, it all depends on what you
You.
choose to pay attention to. And that's why we say that moment by moment, your experience determined
Insights.
by your
Yeah.
choice.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. That was lovely. Balaji, can I bring you in now? Let me start by asking you the same question. What is it that motivated you to write as part of this?
Well, thanks, the City Book leaders, to Mr. Mohit and you for bringing me on board along with Aditi. Well, this is my first book, so I'm not. And when Aditi and Sudhir wanted to have a conversation about how to come up with this book, the topic which I have been doing sessions for more than a dozen years, I said it would be a good partnership to join somebody who are already experts in articulating their thoughts in written form, because I am more used to articulating my thoughts in a spoken form. So I said, why don't I try this? And then we were able
Okay.
to put together the book. And I'm glad, as what Mohit was sharing, and
Yeah.
you also must have seen that the book did come out really well.
Yes, it has. It has come out really well. And I hope it reaches lots of people. Well, I'm going to ask you something about similar to what I've asked earlier. You know, I constantly hear from adults, from children, that there are so many distractions, surrounded by distractions. And I've always wondered that even when I was growing up, there were lots of distractions even then. It's not that distractions have suddenly appeared. Maybe they've increased. I'm not too sure. So I'd like you to throw some light on this.
Yeah, good question. There are two elements that have increased the impact of distractions in today's world, especially in the last 10 years. the accessibility and affordability of distractions has basically they are more accessible and they are more affordable. So any distraction, if if it is more accessible and it is more affordable, it becomes more lethal. That's one. And the second most important thing is we most of the times today we might be calling it as a distraction, but for many people they use a positive euphemism called engagement. We are engaging with something else. That's another euphemism you can give for distraction. So when the effort needed for that alternate engagement is very less, then you get attracted to that because brain doesn't want to work hard. It's a property, it's not a bug. We veer towards things where we don't have to spend much effort, most of us. So when you pick up any of these digital technologies, even your mobile, which I call as, well, no offense to Reliance, but instead of calling it as mother load of distraction, I started calling it as geo load of distraction. Because that's what has made it so affordable and accessible. And there is no effort you need to make. You switch on and you get hooked. You're on mute, Rumaji.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you switch on and it's all there for you. So why should I even make an effort to get up and move?
And this is the key element if you compare with the distractions you had in your childhood,
Yes.
I had in my childhood, and the kind of distractions that the kids are having today.
No.
And that's why
Absolutely.
we also say distraction is slow destruction.
Absolutely. I fully agree with you. Distraction is slow destruction, no doubt. Thank you. That was so well explained. Aditi, I'd like to come back to you. You've said another very nice thing in the book, you all have said. The brain is a wonderful tathastu machine.
Yes.
I mean, it
So,
is remarkable. I mean, I want you to throw some light on this.
yeah. First of all, I would like to apologize with everybody for switching off my camera so often, because just before the
Yeah.
sessions was about to start, something went into my eyes, and that's why I'm feeling so much irritation in my eyes. It's water is coming out. So in between, I keep switching it off because of that. So yeah. So you talked about that brain is a, yeah, we have talked
Tathastu,
about,
you've so
yeah,
called that
tathastu
tathastu
machine.
machine. I
Yeah,
mean,
whatever.
I know there's so much, especially with the new, concept of the new education policy that's coming. A lot of changes are coming into schools with children how to learn. And I thought this was a very appropriate thing that you've said. So I'd like you to explain this to us.
Actually, whenever we learn something new, first of all, we have to understand the concept of learning.
Hmm.
Whatever skill, whenever we learn something new, it gets transformed in our brain in the form of neural circuits. There are neurons in our
Yes.
brain, and whatever we learn, that get translated in the brain in the form of neural circuits. And this property of brain to change its structure or to form these neural circuits in response to our actions is called neuroplasticity. Neuro means neurons and plasticity means to change. So this is a property of brain that whenever we learn something new, it gets the new neurons or the circuits they formed. And when we keep repeating that action, these circuits they get strengthened, and with each strengthening it becomes easier for us to perform that activity. And that is why when we learn something new for the first time, it takes some time because the new circuits are being formed. But when we practice it with attention, because attention is the glue, it serves as a
Yeah.
glue that helps to stick the information to the brain, or that helps in the formation of this neural circuits. Without attention, this change is not possible in the brain. So whatever we choose to pay attention to, we start taking that in our brain, we start learning that. So that is why for learning, attention is very important. So when we pay attention to something, that is why teachers also say, no, pay attention to what I'm saying. Listen to me. So when we pay attention, that sets inside the brain in the form of neural circuits. Now, why this is important, why we call it as a tathastu machine, because the more we repeat that action, the more we practice, it becomes, the circuits become stronger and it becomes easier for us to do, right? So in a way, brain supports our action. It becomes slowly and slowly, it becomes natural. And that is how habits are formed. And if we go a little further, that is how we get addicted also to various things. Like I give you a small example. We start paying attention. We choose to pay attention to a notification. We choose it, that I have to attend, I have to message,
Yeah,
I have
true.
to see. And then when we repeatedly do that, the
It
neural
becomes a habit.
circuits that corresponds to the notifications, they get active. And we don't have to make an effort. And we develop this habit that without even notification, a hand goes to the mobile and we start searching something on it without even knowing, without even any notification. So that's how habits are formed. And this is like brain doesn't differentiate between the right or the wrong. It just is a tathastu machine. Whatever you create, whatever you do, whether positive or
Or
negative, it
negative.
supports.
Yeah.
So it's like our choice. That is why it is very important in today's time what we choose to pay attention to. And as you said earlier also, and we have mentioned in the book also, that paying attention is like giving a slice of
Yes.
your life, and where we are giving that slices to.
Yes.
If we really want to do something constructive in our life, we really want to contribute in our
Yeah.
uh, particular field or excel in a field, it's very important
To
that
understand
we
this.
understand this attention thing and
Absolutely.
how brain helps us to
Yes.
do it or supports that action.
In fact, I think, Aditi ji, that if there are teachers and if there are educators listening in, I think it's neuroplasticity is a beautiful concept that I think we need to get across to our teaching communities and to the children in schools. And of course, students all over, because it's really something that we all need to focus on and develop. There's one question that's come in from a couple of questions. I'd like to take one now. I'll read it out in case you'd like to answer it now. We have Aditya Amarendra Sahu, who's asked why children are not concentrating in their studies nowadays and why are they diverted from the right path. And I think there's another question which sounds very similar from Vishwani Lamba. It says, what about inner distractions? My biggest distraction is my own thoughts because I get lost in them and it wastes a lot of time. So maybe either of you could think of
Yeah,
answering that.
there are multiple reasons for kids not being able to pay attention. Research clearly shows that if we don't teach our kids, because attention is a skill, it can
Yes.
be learned with practice. Paying attention or increasing your concentration can be done. It's not an either or. It's not
Yes.
that either you are born with or not born with, you can actually develop it. It's wrong for us to blame the kids and label them saying they are not able to focus. Because as adults, we did not create the necessary, what I call as distraction free environment
Yeah.
for them to thrive.
True.
And the more you expose them to the new technologies, whereas we just discussed the accessibility and affordability
Affordability.
are so easy, that distraction is reducing their attention span big time.
True.
And we are not spending time with our kids in helping them understand the wow elements that are there as a part of their education. I'll give you a very simple example. Again, this is through research. The couple of researchers who did this interesting work, who wanted to find out if nighttime stories which the parents or the grandparents used to tell the kids had any impact on the kids' capability, any faculty of the kids.
Yeah.
They found out those kids who regularly heard nighttime stories from their parents, their visuospatial intelligence improved a lot as adults. So where is the time today from the parents? And there is a relation, because when we do the nighttime stories, we don't have books, we don't have television, we didn't have any internet. So when we used to say, "Das sir ka Ravan, itna bada rakshas, इतना बड़ा स्पाइडर, इतना क्रोकोडाइल, उसका मुंह इतना बड़ा, देख वो खाने के लिए आ रहा है." Now that
Yes.
is making the kid to visualize. Now this happens night after night after night, and their ability to think abstractly, think in space, that is increasing. Now, where is that? Where is that time we are spending with our kids? So it's very important before we tell our kids that are we able to create that distraction free home and a distraction free school, and we spend more time.
Yes.
I won't take any excuses. The other day also, me and Aditi were having a conversation. I was very, very tough, because in some of these things I'm very blunt, because we are going to lose our next generation. We are already turning
That's
them into
true.
mobile
That's true. I
zombies.
agree with you
You know, that
completely on that.
hurts me really deeply.
Yes. And I think what you said is so very true, because I think the art of storytelling is getting lost, and which is why I think we all need to appreciate what Mohit is doing, getting us all together to tell stories. Because I think stories, which was so much a part of our growing up and art, I mean, they just seem, and it's so true. You know, those gestures and those voice modulations that you did when you told stories to children, they actually help foster visual spatial intelligence. And now we're talking about multiple intelligence, and we're talking about so many things. Thank you. That was really nice. Uh, I'm going to ask Aditi a question now. Aditi, in your book, there is a chapter on unlocking your talent.
Yes.
And you very beautifully explained how you yourself overcame your fear of the stage.
Mhm.
Very, very interesting. I'd like you to share your own experience. Maybe there is so much our audience would learn something from it.
Yeah. People who see me today, they really don't believe that as a child I was very shy, afraid of. The biggest fear, the biggest weakness was stage phobia and public speaking. Though I got lot many opportunities in my childhood to speak on stage. My teachers were very loving, my parents were very supportive. But I always used to think that I can never do it. This was my deep rooted belief. And in spite of getting so many chances, I always said no. And it was not that I never wanted to. Inside, deep inside me, I always wanted to be there like other students who can speak confidently in front of the school. But I never could gather the courage for doing that. My school life, my college life, and like even after my marriage, I couldn't gain that confidence. But yes, 10 years back, when I started practicing meditation, I learned Raj Yoga meditation. There were some insights which were very profound. I wanted to share that there I got to know that God is our creator and He has given each one of us equal powers. So I asked there, if He has given equal powers, then why I am not capable of doing what I wanted to do? So one of the sisters there, she helped me out in coming out of this thing. She said, like, you always see others. When I shared my experience, my feelings, so she said, you always see others, their strengths, and compare yourself. You want to see yourself as they are doing. But, can you find another person just like you on this entire world? I said, no two are alike. So then she said, that is what you have to understand. You are unique. See your strengths, see inside yourself. Don't see others. because what they can do, you cannot do. But what you can do, nobody can do.
Yes.
And that was a turning point. And I started looking inside me. It's not that I developed confidence on the spot, but yes, I started seeing myself from a different perspective. And there, what I learned, a very profound learning, was when I changed, or when you change the things you look at, when you change your way, you the your way to look at the things you look at change. I repeat, when you change the way you
You
look
do.
at things, the
Yes.
things you look at change. When
Change.
I started looking inside me or myself from a different perspective, things inside me started changing. And as I just explained, brain is a tathastu machine. Uh, there I realized that, because since my childhood, I always used to say to myself, I cannot do this.
Yeah.
Brain accepted that, said tathastu. Because when I saw, I visualized myself shuddering even at the thought of going on stage. The same, my brain supported, and I used to feel like that. I used to experience like that. But when I learned to shift my attention
To
on
brain.
my strengths, see me as from different perspective, then I started experiencing that energy, that capability to learn new skills. And I seriously then started learning all these skills, which later on helped me not just to make records, go on for
Yeah.
TEDx talks, and today I am in front of you because I just shifted my attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Aditi. And I think the biggest mantra is that we should all say we can do it.
Yes, believing in yourself.
Believing in yourself. There are three questions that have come. I would read them out. But I think before that, I would like to ask Balaji. I always hear about cluttering. Everybody these days talks about your mind is cluttered, declutter it. There are books written on how to declutter your mind. So it seems to have become a new buzzword. But well, and does it mean the same thing as not having clarity is my question. And I'm going to read out the three questions that have come from the audience because I think they mean the same thing. Vishwani Lamba is asking, what about inner distractions? My biggest distraction are my own thoughts because I get lost in them. Medha Srivastav is asking, I'm finding it difficult to concentrate because of overthinking. So, how do I deal with it? And we have Rachna who says that how do I avoid digital distraction? Because even reading is through the mobile, tab, or laptop. Please explain. So, I thought I could merge all these questions and they could all be answered together.
Wonderful. So let me first answer about this overthinking.
Yes.
When a thought comes, you have two choices. Actually, you have three. Either you can ignore it, or you can acknowledge and ignore it so that it doesn't bother you, or you can engage it.
Yes.
We are not taught to do the first two because ignoring is painful. But when you acknowledge, say, for example, now we are having a conversation and suddenly a thought comes to my mind saying, what should I do at 1 p.m.? I can tell my mind, it's at 1 p.m., Bala. Now focus on what you are answering to Rumaji. Focus on the interview. This little bit of positive self-talk
Yes.
reorients our mind. And when I talk about reflection, it is this positive self-talk that we need to teach our kids, and we also need to learn to practice. The first person who was saying that the internal thoughts disturb, they disturb, no offense, because you are engaging them. Learn to acknowledge and ignore. Don't shy away. Don't get scared. A thought comes, don't be scared. Oh, again I got this thought. Again I got. Talk to yourself in the first person. Bala, yes, this thought is bothering me. Let me write it down. I have to do it today afternoon. I will give time to it. Now let me focus on what I am doing.
Yeah.
So constantly keep bringing your mind back with this positive self-talk, and not take a diversion to engage that waste thought that interfered.
Yeah.
And when you start doing this, again, this activity of bringing your mind back, your attention back, becomes a new, thanks to neuroplasticity, you keep repeating it, it becomes easier and easier and easier.
Absolutely. Very true.
So this positive self-talk is one of the key elements to for us to get a hold on our overthinking.
Yes.
If it's okay, I can share my website where we have recorded these talks on attendees can use it to
Yeah.
watch that and to reflect on it. So I'm sharing my, I think Mohit
I
can
think
forward it to
it's,
rest of
yeah,
the
I
people.
think it's there on the chat box. I can see it there. So I think
Yeah,
people could,
I think it
yeah,
for all,
yeah, I
yeah,
can see
for
it
all
on the
the
chat box.
attendees.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's about the overthinking part.
Yeah.
So that should answer. And was there anything else?
No, I was, my primary question was that decluttering of the mind. So
Yeah,
I think it's
this is the
similar.
method. This is the
Yes.
method. Because when you engage and
Yes.
allow yourself to get distracted, it becomes a clutter.
Yes. So I think
TV
it
is switched
answers that.
on.
Yes.
TV is not calling you. You are
You're,
allowing the TV to
yes.
call you.
Yes. It's a lot to
There's a
do with
very, very
yourself.
slight
Yes.
difference. So, as Aditi was mentioning, if I can reclaim my ownership, if I can reclaim my self sovereignty, that say that I am the master of my mind. मन मेरा है, मैं
Yes.
मन का नहीं.
नहीं हूँ.
मोबाइल मेरा है, मैं मोबाइल का नहीं.
मोबाइल का नहीं हूँ. Absolutely.
That slight
Yes.
shift can start helping you. It will require practice. I'm
Yes.
saying it's not, but this shift in awareness is the key thing to gain that capability.
Yeah. It's something that we all need to make an effort to do.
Yes. And we need to
Conscious
teach our
effort.
kids. We need to teach our
Yes, and we
kids.
need to
Very
teach.
important.
Yeah, a conscious effort has to be made to this. Thank you, Balaji. Aditi, I'm going to come back to you again. And as Mohit said in the beginning about being in the corporate world and, multitasking being the buzzword and everybody, if you did 10 things at the same time, you said, wow, this one's really something. Well, you have said that multitasking, is it a myth? Is the question.
Yes,
So if multitasking is a myth, then what is it that we're doing when we are constantly trying to do so many things at the same time?
see, we, I would say multitasking is a misnomer. It's a myth because what exactly, when we call that we are multitasking, what we are referring to is that we are trying to do more than one task at a time, 2 or 3 tasks at a time, right? So our brain just can't multitask. Our brain can focus, pay attention to only one thing at a
One
time.
thing at a time.
Yes.
Yes, that's what.
It seems because we are actually accomplishing 2, 3 things at a time. I am writing an email also, attending to my phone also, talking to my child also. So it seems that as if I'm doing 3 things at a time. But actually, what I'm effectively doing is task switching. I'm switching between the tasks of emailing when I'm focusing my attention on mail. So my attention is only on mail. But as soon as some notification comes, I switches to that. So then my attention is not on the mail, my attention is on that notification. And then as soon as my child starts talking to me, my attention is there. It seems I'm writing email also, but my attention is not there. So brain cannot focus or pay attention to 2 things at a time. What we are doing is we are switching our attention. It's just like why this is important to understand that multitasking is not effective, and in fact it is not truth also. The truth is we are task switching. We can understand it like if now I ask you if we open too many apps on our mobile and we keep switching between the apps, what will happen to our mobile? What we all have observed.
It will get, the battery will die out.
That it will consume more
And
battery.
yeah,
Yes.
and
It will become slow. It may
yes.
hang down also, and then you have to switch it off and then switch on, or you have to close all the apps. Why this happens? Because when you open too many apps and you keep switching, the memory of the phone is more used up in switching over rather than executing the apps. The same thing happens in the brain also. When we shift our attention from one task to the other and we continuously do this switching, brain has to pay a switching penalty because most of our brain energy is consumed in refocusing.
Yes.
Right?
And yes,
and
you've talked about it in the book.
That is why it seems we are doing 2-3 things at a time, but actually we are chopping off, we are slicing our attention again and again and again.
Yes.
And because we are continuously doing that, thinking that we are very good at multitasking, we end up being tired, exhausted, not able to complete all things in our to-do list. And most importantly, the change which is coming, because brain gets, because of neuroplasticity, we develop the habit of getting distracted or short attention span because of reshifting our attention again and again. So we are becoming actually attention deficient with low attention span. And most importantly, we are experiencing partial attention almost all the time. We are not able to focus. We are losing our power to concentrate on one task. So
I'll interrupt you here, Aditi ji. There's one question, I think, related to this, which is asked by Garima Bhutani. She's saying that if you're doing repetitive tasks in parallel, doesn't it become like muscle memory activity execution?
Doesn't it become like?
Muscle memory activity execution.
I don't get the word.
The muscle memory. She's talking about muscle memory when we do repetitive tasks. Doesn't it become like muscle memory? I mean, we're using a muscle memory to do this. That means we probably...
See, again, that we have to see, memory is like a muscle. But when we keep doing many things parallelly, again, that is what I'm saying, we are shifting our energy. We are consuming more energy to execute that work. It seems we are doing, like I would say, if we do one task at a time, we will consume less energy. Our productivity will be more. We will do it more efficiently and we will get less time. And we will end up doing all three things instead of doing it all
better.
There's one small thing, Rumaji, with respect to muscle memory. There are two components here. Is that task, those two tasks that you are doing, are they cognitively expensive?
Okay.
Or have you do it only physically?
Okay. Yes.
Any two tasks that are cognitively expensive,
yes,
if you try to do them at the same time, even the capability of a Harvard MBA gets reduced to an 8th standard kid. Harold Peschler is a very famous memory researcher. These are his observations. Preeminent researchers on memory, where he says, even if you're a Harvard MBA, if you try to do two cognitively expensive tasks, see, for example, if you are cycling and listening to something, that cycling, it doesn't require your energy. It's not cognitively expensive. But you are trying to type an email and also answer a call. Try that. There is no muscle memory involved there.
True. There are two cognitive tasks.
Exactly. So we need to differentiate when we are talking about this parallel execution. And as an extension to what Aditi spoke about switch tasking, there is this element of background tasking, which people misunderstand as multitasking. When you are driving a car, you switch on your music. For many of the attendees and for many of you, or for many of us, while studying, we want to have some music or some songs playing in the background. Now that is background.
Yes, that's background. It's not.
It will become cognitively expensive if you start thinking about ये कौन सा राग है,
हाँ,
ये कौन सा ताल है, ये
who
कौन
is
सा
the singer?
इंस्ट्रूमेंट है,
Yes,
ये किस पिच पे गा रहा है,
बिल्कुल.
when you start thinking in that direction, even that listening becomes cognitively expensive
Cognitively.
task.
Yeah,
Then you can't
true.
focus.
So I think probably answers Garuma's question. So shall we move on to the next? There are a lot of audience questions, but I have one more question for Balaji, and then I'll take on the audience questions. Mm, there is, we were talking about the wow factor, and we were talking about curiosity. And, having been in the line of education, I know that we've always told teachers, be innovative in what you ask the right questions all the time. But I really don't know how much of it actually translated into the classroom as such, though there were some that did wonders. So I want you've said that asking the right questions leads to the right solutions. I want to know, is it really as simple as that?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So here I want to mention some wonderful work done by Mary Lowe in
Yeah.
1960s and 70s, a wonderful educator and a teacher. She talks about the simple concept of wait time. She says, as soon as you ask a question as a teacher, do you know that typically teachers wait for zero point 0.9 seconds for the kid to answer before they admonish the kid or they start answering it themselves?
Okay.
And she found if you can increase this wait time to 3 seconds, just
Okay.
3 seconds,
Just 3
adding just
seconds.
2 seconds has increased the engagement and the number of students answering the question by more than 70%.
Wow. That's really wow. I would say wow to that.
Yeah, a simple thing. And the second wait time is when you allow, when you stay silent after the kid has completed answering and give another 3 seconds so that if the kid has to add anything. These
Mhm.
two wait times, when they experimentally did it, have completely transformed the way kids interacted with the teachers.
Okay.
So
Oh,
one is this element. When you ask a question, my philosophy has always been there is no such thing as a stupid question. There are only stupid answers. No question is stupid. And the more you allow the kids to ask and interact without your ego getting hurt,
true.
the more innovation comes. Can I take another 30 seconds? I'll give another very
Please,
interesting
please,
example.
please.
Niels Bohr, when he was a kid, the famous atomic scientist, famous physicist, he was asked by his teacher, how will you measure the height of the Tower of Pisa? Okay, he said with thermometer. You see that? What you
Yes,
felt,
you
what
saw
you immediately felt.
my
Yeah,
reaction.
I could see that. Now that's exactly what a typical teacher would do. But
No, I'm a
his
teacher.
teacher, yeah, but his teacher, she said, she stopped. She stopped herself from that reaction and she said, "Explain."
Ah, okay.
That's it.
Beautiful.
Then,
Yes.
then he said, "I will tie a thread because you need something heavy. I will tie the thermometer to the thread and then pull it down." Now that's an innovative way, but you
Absolutely.
didn't allow.
Yes. Because of the reaction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now that is how in it doesn't mean that your questions need to be innovative.
Yeah.
The kids are already innovative. Allow them to blossom. There's
True.
another example. Humberto Maturana is a very famous Chilean biologist. You can search, you will get about him. Humberto Maturana, Maturana. He was an average student from Chile, but he went on to become one of the most famous biologists of 20th century. So he was asked, sir, how is it that you became so famous? By your own admission, you were just an average kid. He said, I went to a special school. In the school, 50% of the marks were given for the kind of questions we asked. not for the answers. 50% of our marks came measuring or evaluating the kind of questions we asked our teachers. And that developed this inquisitive mindset. And that is what made me to explore the nature and become whatever I have become as a scientist. Now, with so many teachers and educators on the call, I would encourage them to think about these two things. One is the wait time. The other one is
Absolutely.
allowing the kids
them.
to explore. 6 into 6 is 34. Stupid, you don't even know that. Sit down. It is 36. That's it.
That kills
6 into 6 is 34. Interesting. Let's walk through.
Yeah, absolutely. That would give the child the
The
motivation
kid
to
would
speak
never
again.
forget. And when you admonish, he will never open his mouth next time.
Absolutely. That's what is happening.
Very subtle.
Yes.
So for those of you who are interested, tomorrow I'm doing this session for about an hour on power of questions. I will share the Google Meet invite on the comments.
Okay.
If you have time, you can join. It's from 12 to 1.
All right.
Because I will be exploring this element of questions that you asked for more than an hour tomorrow.
Okay. I have one more question that I would like to ask you, and then maybe we'll take on the audience questions after that. You've talked about you're a digital wellness person, and you're also somebody who's into avid meditation. For layman, it's like two ends of gold, or this thing. Now, so how would you think meditation would help in this age of digital consumption?
Wonderful. Very good question. Thanks for asking. First, I will clarify the wrong definition that people seem to be having about meditation. For most of the most of the popular culture, which you must have heard from many teachers and many people, meditation means stopping your thoughts. Is that the definition that comes to your mind also? That also you must have heard. Yeah, you should not think. Stopping your thoughts means meditation. Today, I want to tell everybody that it is wrong. It comes because of incorrect translation of this first sutra of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Yogasya chitta vritti nirodha. So their chitta is incorrectly translated as mind. Chitta vritti is incorrectly translated as thoughts. Nirodha is incorrectly translated as blocking. And yoga is incorrectly translated as meditation.
Okay.
So you have a heady mix. And then that is what is spread saying meditation means stopping your thoughts. Now, how will you know in meditation whether you stopped your thoughts or not? By making another thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's ironic, isn't it?
Yes.
As long as you are alive, you will continue to make thoughts. It is not possible to stop thinking. So stop this incorrect definition of meditation. Meditation means having a loveful conversation with myself. It is conscious generation of positive, powerful, and elevating thoughts.
Yeah.
Another definition for meditation. It is conscious generation of positive, powerful, and elevated thoughts. And when you start making positive thoughts, the beauty is the quality of your thoughts and the speed of your thinking are very closely related. When you think negative, you become anxious and you get exhausted. You think fast. When you think positive, you think slow and you relax. So in meditation, when you think positive, your thinking speed slows down, your mind and body relax, and there is a lot of research that talks about in the last 20-25 years the positive benefits of meditation. Again, it is a skill, it can be practiced. So use this positive self-talk, relaxation, and continuous practice With the help of neuroplasticity, within less than a month, you can become good meditators. This is my, I would say, challenge, and also my experience of having started meditation nearly 27 years ago. So when I am able to slow down my thoughts and control my mind, it becomes easy for me to withdraw from my distractions.
Yes.
That ability to withdraw and control my mind is the fundamental quality that helps in our digital wellness, that helps in our life. And that is what we are saying in today's world, that we need to teach ourselves and our kids. How do I control my mind?
Yeah. True.
And that skill is what you will develop when you start meditation.
There are lots of questions, but I think we have gone beyond our. But I would request everyone here to read the book. I think most of your questions are going to be answered if you read the book. However, there's one last question that I would like to ask you. That we have Ashwini Kumarji who's asked, how can we balance our concentration with the use of social media? I'd just like this last question to be answered. I think it's very relevant for all of us.
It can't be.
Okay.
That's it. I'm sorry about that, to disappoint all of you.
So I
And I'm
think,
going to share another website where we have created another website for digital wellness.
okay,
And there are extended versions of my talks on these topics, on social media, on sleep, on digital detoxification. And feel free to download the slide deck, watch the sessions,
okay,
and also start sharing, because we are interested in spreading this word of digital wellness ambassadors. If you want to become a digital wellness ambassador, whatever material you need is placed on that website. And there you will get the answer for the question that Ashwini Kumarji has just asked. And I'm sorry to disappoint you, because I don't want to give false answers or false sense of hope to rationalize our weakness masquerading as strength.
thank you so much. I think it's been an interesting session, wonderful takeaways. We need to remember that attention is a skill. I loved the bit about distractions, being easily accessible and easily affordable. And I think that is what we as
One
parents
one
need to guard
last point.
against.
One
Yes,
last
sorry.
point.
Yes,
If you want to reduce your distractions,
yes,
then keep your mobile in an inaccessible place where you have to
yes.
search for it, and make it little less accessible and less affordable. Then automatically your distractions will come down.
Come down. Certainly, that's something for all of us. And I'd urge everyone to read the book. Mohit, would you like to say something?
Thank you very much, Romaji. You made the discussions absolutely very relevant. And I'm sure the questions that have also come, I to relate with everything because
Yeah.
this question, whether social media can help us in any concentration, I think we need a version 2.0 of social media, or whether we really need to be social or not, because that's
Yeah.
what Aditi ji has mentioned in the book as well. There's a beautiful story that she had mentioned that a gentleman, newly married, went to social media, saw another person buying a car, saw another
Yes.
person having a large house, putting those pictures, traveling in to various hill stations, posting pictures of his European trip. Now, this all brings us a lot of comparison amongst us.
Absolutely.
Idea is to be original, to be innovative amongst yourselves, and to someone like Balaji who doesn't have any access to WhatsApp and saying that nobody misses him. I think that's a sheer work of focused activity that all the
Absolutely.
websites he has just mentioned. And if you will go and actually just Google Dr. Aditi Singhal, you will see some fascinating stories that she
Yes.
has been narrating. And I think that's good social media. That's what we really
That's
need to
yes.
spread rather than telling what did I eat for my breakfast
Yes.
or what is that new jewelry that I have bought. I think that show off, that consumption show off has to go out. And I think
Yes. Absolutely.
beautiful organizations and what at Brahma Kumaris is also being tutored, mentored, shared with others. is the way of life. And I think we have enough in terms of ancient wisdom that we had. It's just that because of a lot of comparisons and a lot of khichdi that we have pakawed in our own culture and the way we have been living, because of that
Yeah.
confusion. I would like to just quote two people here. I had the privilege to interact with them. One is definitely last year we hosted Amitabh Bachchan for a session, and like everyone else, wow, Amitabh Bachchan. We had the similar feelings. But during that session, while I was on the stage with him, I noticed one very important thing that as soon as he got ready to be on the stage, he gave his phone to his staff. And till the time it was all done, he didn't see the phone.
Yeah.
Period. Despite being Amitabh Bachchan, it's very easy for him to just pick the phone and do anything that he wishes to. And that's where his focus came, I guess. The second gentleman is the former CEO of HCL, Vineet Nair. He's doing some remarkable work in education. But I've always seen him composed. Whenever I meet him, he always keeps his phone, his diary is well maintained. So I think it's all about the way of life that we
Yes,
have to
absolutely.
pursue. And a lot of
Absolutely.
clutter in our mind, a lot of questions coming. What is in the lunch today? If I have
Yeah.
to eat that lunch, when will I post the picture? When will I do the WhatsApp social status on that?
Absolutely.
And people
Absolutely.
are not responding to it, man. How come? Where is the blue tick? And I think we all
Yes.
will have to come out of that blue tick
Yeah.
fascination.
It's like you go somewhere and
There's a
people,
new
you see them putting on their Facebook and, updating their location status. Ki bhai, the world should know where I am.
I,
That
I,
is why we have
I encourage people to check their blue tick anxiety. What I call as blue tick anxiety.
Anxiety. Absolutely.
So I think my dream will come true next year. I'm planning to be out of WhatsApp as well, and I mentioned it to Balaji and Dr. Aditi as well. I miss my Nokia 3310. I would like to have it back. No internet, no WhatsApp, nothing. Um,
Simple messaging.
Some of my own colleagues have switched. They put the dumb phone, which we mistakenly call a
Call dumb.
smartphone at home, and they carried a dumb phone, which is actually a smartphone, the button phone, the Nokia
Ah,
210 or 270.
the little thing. Yeah.
They started using that at office. And they say their ability to focus and productivity
Has
has
increased.
increased, at least by twice, because they were able to realize how much this distraction was costing them.
True.
True.
And we don't
True.
even calculate that. So I would recommend this book and all the other series and all the discussions that are available on the good part of the internet, not to be shared with others, only for your own consumption. That's what I learned
Yeah.
while I was reading this book. And we look forward to have more patrons to join in our next sessions. Thank you very much, Rumaji, for such lovely discussions, taking out time. Despite being in Nilgiris, you had all the ways to go out and be distracted to the Himalaya,
No, no.
to the mountains. But thank you for taking out time. And I guess you were able to do it because you are at a place where less distractions are there
Yeah.
and you
It's
can concentrate on the discussion. Thanks a
no, no.
lot to
Thank
Dr.
you.
Aditi.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Mm,
Aditi ji, Malaji,
Rumaji.
Mohit, everybody.
thank you, Mr. Mohit. Thank you, Rumaji.
Namaskar. Namaskar for everyone to
And we
join.
have lots of takeaways from today's session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.